And welcome everybody once again to the PCS Spring Split 2022. It is the beginning of week number 6. We are finally at our final week of the regular split, and soon, very soon, we'll be getting into those playoffs and seeing who is going to be our representative at MSI. Of course, everybody, I am Devin Pyrotechnics Young. I am joined on this broadcast by Clement Chu. Clement, are you ready to see how it all shakes out, how the playoffs all go?
Oh, of course I am. It's so exciting to finally see the conclusion. We've had 75 games so far, and this final week will decide who gets to move on.
It has been so many, but before we get to talk about any more of them, I do want to take a moment and thank our wonderful sponsors, CTBC Bank and Caliber. Thank you for making the PCS possible. Also, of course, our broadcast partners, Carry Live, Riot Games, and Garena. All right, Clement, we get to rock and roll with this. We've got a final week of regulation, only 15 more games to go before we see how the playoffs end up. And there's still a lot of questions that need answering, because here's how things stand, right? We've got 7 teams locked into playoffs, but nobody is locked into a specific spot yet. There's still an open spot the teams are fighting for, and only one team is eliminated. So really, this is one of the most competitive splits we've had in a while in this league.
If you looked at 2021, you wouldn't recognize the current League of Legends sphere in the PCS, because all of our top 5 teams can still vie for the top position. If you look at the win-loss difference, it's within 3 games. So this means this final week is really everything on the line. Top 5, that's a huge battle. And if you look a little bit lower down, we have Frank Esports and Meta Falcon team already locked into playoffs, but not locked into their respective positions. And Impunity can actually still catch up to either of them. So very tight contention there in the bottom side as well. Later down we go, Hurricane Gaming, they can still catch up to Impunity. So Impunity still have to work hard for their slot. And going later down, Sem9, of course, unfortunately, mathematically eliminated, but still that makes 9 teams that still get a chance.
Yeah, Sem9 aren't fighting for nothing, though. Remember, they do want to try to avoid the dubious honor of being the first team in PCS history to go 0-18. They're going to have a tough road ahead of them for that, though, as they do have some pretty hard teams to face off against this week. But one of the happier things, yeah, there's just so much more to fight for here at all levels of the table. I think you talked about how Hurricane can still catch up to Impunity. And, like, yeah, they need to win out, but it's still possible. It's crazy how close this actually is. I mean, if we had, like, foldy sheets on us, they'd be, like, 2 or 3 pages long at this point.
That's what happens when you have 10 teams and 8 of them can't go into the playoffs. It's usually really messy. But if you remember, I think it's a huge improvement from last split, where we had PSG and Beyond Gaming winning the entire split, only losing to each other. And this time around, it's wide open for your Triple J teams, for PSG to still make a stand. And going further, this is one of the reasons why things are still in the air, because Uniboy exists, our man of the week. And boy, oh boy, I feel like he's made a stamp as really the best tempo mid laner that we have in the PCS. His stats on the Zoe have been absolutely crazy. He's currently still 49 KDA on this champion. And
why do they keep giving it to him?
I know, it's just so crazy. Like, whatever you do, just don't give this guy Zoe. Whatever champion uses spheres, he's great on. The Syndra is also another one, which is 46 KDA too. Exactly.
Yeah, Uniboy he's insane. I mean, we get to watch a little bit more of this here up against Meta Falcon team. I mean, I think the draft, a lot of teams are going to have to adapt. Playoffs are going to change the calculus a little bit because we do have those best ofs, and teams will be able to adapt a little bit to them. But as far as it stands, the hype for this iteration of J-Team, led by Uniboy, has absolutely lived up to it. It's a huge part of why J-Team could potentially get a top 2 spot this split and kind of reclaim some glory days of old, I would think. And they're backed up by a lot of strong players as well. Kongye, of course, everybody remembers his days and what he has been as of late as a very strong carry-oriented jungler, backs up Uniboy well, but the rest of the squad is still tough too. I think Driver is having an incredible split after sitting the bench last year.
True, you know, we thought J-Team would actually slide down and kind of be the weakest of the 3 J-Teams, the J-Team Hydra, as we like to call it. But this time around, they're actually sitting at 11-4, only behind Deep Cross Gaming, which is another J-Team clone. So they actually ended up just about as good as we would have imagined. And I think the most critical piece is really how well would the old Mad duo go, the Uniboy and Kongye kind of duo. And for us, I feel like they've been performing quite well. I still don't think they're a great team fight duo necessarily. That's kind of been the weakness. But in terms of pushing the tempo and really threatening with champions that do well early game, they are the best duo. I don't think PSG's duo of Bei and Juhan really compare in that department. They're very good macro-wise, but when it comes to pushing fast games, Uniboy and Kongyue are second to none.
Yeah, I think just about anybody going up against them is going to be on the wrong side of a hands diff. It's just incredible mechanics and incredible, you called it tempo play from this squad. It's one of the reasons J-Team's been rising in the ranks in recent weeks. Now let's take a look at what we have changed, which is not a whole lot in our Week 5 picks and bans. Zeri, no surprise, still ruling the roost with a 100% ban pick rate when not far behind, but definitely gets to make it through a little bit more often. Jinx, of course, has still been incredibly popular and really has eked out a top spot for the non-Zeri play in the PCS as well as around the world. Xin Zhao continues to be very popular, and so does Nautilus. We also got to see some Kai'Sa this week that has been rising in priority as teams are starting to dip a little further, not just into the AD carry pool. I mean, everybody's seen Faker play it, and now I feel like that might be an option in the mid lane, but we have shifted things a little bit too, Clement. It is officially patch 12.5, and some of these champions are getting hit with the nerf bat.
Yeah, a couple of big things on 12.5. Number one big question is Zeri still going to be top priority? And the answer, unfortunately, is yes, because from what we've seen, the pick rate is still about over 93%. They did change her numbers quite a bit. There's a lot of shuffling on her AD ratios and her base AD, but then the general gist of it is that she's harder to snowball, and she also requires to stay in range a little bit longer to get the full max movement speed stacks as compared to the previous patch. So she's still very strong, but a little bit more harder to snowball. We still expect this to be permabanned, and that just is the way Zeri is going to work in this patch as well. The big change, I would say, is Xin Zhao moving down quite a few spots. Hecarim is now kind of the premier jungler that we see on 12.5 after the nerfs and the cooldown changes to Audacious Charge.
Right. I think we were seeing that a little bit as well, not just in the PCS, but also worldwide.
Yeah.
Ever since the Gore Drinker changes, because it just made Turbo Chem Tank champions a little bit more attractive out of the jungle. It wasn't 100% one way or the other, but it does feel like you still get a fair bit of a gauge, and it's still more of that power farm level. But I'm curious to see how this patch, even though it's kind of deceptively small, shakes things out for these teams. But of course, it is all about playoff contention as well, and the pole position shuffling. Our matches, they look a little bit one-sided on paper, but we've seen some crazy upsets of recent. First up today, we will have Hurricane Gaming still in a desperate fight for that last playoff seed, taking on J-Team, who are themselves looking to climb up the standings, currently sitting in third place, could still secure a number 2 or number 1 seed. And after that, it's going to be CFO taking on Meta Falcon team. See if they can find an upset there, as Meta Falcon have been on the rise of late. Rank Esports, of course, tying them in the standings, face off against the other J-Team clone, Deep Cross Gaming. And after that, Beyond up against Sem9, and PSG rounded out with a bout against Impunity.
The last game definitely has the most implications riding on it. If PSG win, they actually can stay away from the 4th and 5th place seed in Beyond Gaming and CFO. And if Impunity win, they actually stay out of range of Hurricane Gaming. If Hurricane Gaming lose this first game, they would eliminate Hurricane Gaming potentially today and just secure their playoff spot for sure. So the last game for me, definitely a lot of stakes riding on this one. But of course, we have to focus on what is ahead of us. Hurricane Gaming going up against J-Team. And this one's quite an interesting match because I think both of these teams do have that kind of mean streak in them where they want to go in early. We've seen this from Alio. He's just like Viego and super risky level 1s. That's why kind of Hurricane Gaming is known for. And on the other side, you have, as we've seen, Man of the Week, Uniboy, and Kongyue coming into it. And also the top lane matchup should be relatively interesting as well because both of these players, as you have told me in the pregame, both are Jax players. They really like to go head-to-head with fighters, something we've seen from Driver as well coming in this split.
I feel like ICU is going to find a kindred spirit in Driver, absolutely. So I kind of expect that top matchup to be a really interesting one, a really fun one at the very least. J-Team, of course, did have a little bit of fun last week when they played up against Sem9, and we saw some of those highlight clips where they were just absolutely styling on kids. And I think J-Team will probably take this one a little bit more serious as Hurricane have some things to play for and have a little bit more a bite than bark, if you will. But all the same, in terms of just a pound-for-pound matchup, the skill level that we've seen out of Type A J-Team has just outclassed what Hurricane can offer. But there's always the possibility of a surprise. You can't rest on your laurels, especially with how close it is. And we will, in fact, be watching the top matchup for our stats comparison. And you can see the differences. It's not just in performance. ICU does a lot more of his team's damage than Driver does, which is a fair point when you have Uniboy on your squad.
Nobody's sharing the damage is basically what this graph is showcasing for us. In terms of the top lane matchup, there is one big thing to note is that Hullbreaker was changed on 12.5. If you're a ranged character, you actually only get half the stats right now. So champions like Gnar and Graves really have taken a hit in the standings. We don't assume that they're going to be picked as high as a frequency. And also the Gwen matchup is going to be fairly interesting. ICU particularly likes to challenge the Gwen with range champions like Gnar and the Jace. And now that Gwen, the slip and slash extra auto attack range has been halved, it should be a lot harder to just go grasp and kind of out-trade against range champions. So I feel like there's more incentive for Hurricane Gaming to actually counterpick, knowing that Driver will likely go for the Gwen matchup if given.
And they might just let him have it here. We are opening things up. No Gwen ban in the first couple of rotations. There is a Tryndamere. There's a Graves removed. And Hurricane also targeting out the Lee Sin of Konge, which has been, fair to say, his most played, most successful champion, if you will. He's played Viego a little bit more. But Lee Sin, man, hasn't lost on it this split. I think it's a fair ban.
Yeah, I would have to concur with that. I feel like Lee Sin just has much more early game presence. And as we said, J-Team, even though their base play style is still front-to-back team fight, their main victories do come from the fact that they just snowball mid-jungle so incredibly well.
Ooh, now, Zeri open.
This is very interesting, you know? Bang 2 is one of those players that hasn't shown a lot of Zeri, but if you give it to him blue side first pick, he's still going to go for it. We'll find out if Zeri can actually work out this split. As we've said, the numbers have changed quite a bit, and she did get that 5 AD nerf just early on in the game. Ooh, and a very early Alistar too.
Hey, what are you planning, J-Team? Yeah, you know, I want to point out, this is Bang 2's 10th unique pick this split. I don't believe he's had an open Zeri the entire time. I could be wrong about that, but still, that's actually kind of incredible, and I'm really excited for this bot lane now, because notice they also took an early prio to ban out the Nautilus, which tells me they kind of want to focus on what I would consider to be the weak point of J-Team, which is a bit of that bottom lane. Their early game is not as tempo focused. They'll be definitely much more of a late game player, or has been. And I think Enzo might be one of the weaker mechanical players here, but he does have the Alistar, and they're going to match it with a Leona. And of course, Olio on this Volibear pick. Can you say engage?
Ooh, there we go.
Whoop,
and that was what I was expecting, the bot lane burst combo. Zeri is very slippery, and the way you have to deal with her is with champions that can kill her quickly, not allow her to stack up. And so you're looking at champions with a lot of burst damage, the Dravens and the Tristana. This is an old-time golden combo. Alistar goes in, WQ knockup. You jump in afterwards. You put the stack on her, and then you also have the burst with Buster Shot. You can reset very easily with this combo. So this is very dangerous for a Zeri, and it's kind of the primary counter that we have seen being selected in the PCS whenever Zeri is open.
You have to wonder if J-Team were just prepared for this one, but I still think it's a bit of a risky proposition. In a ban phase 2, we see top lane getting hit again, the Jace off the table, the Aurelia against Aurelia carry you. And of course, now we're starting to see the Galio removed as well. An interesting one is I don't believe it's been in the repertoire of Cha-Cha, but potentially not allowing for a bit of a Wombo combo. Also the Syndra.
Zoe? Hello?
Zoe left up is, that's a mistake, guys.
Yeah, it's fairly interesting. Zoe doesn't really combo well with Hecarim, so that's probably what they're thinking. It's like, oh, you know, there isn't really a one-shot combo or an instantaneous combo that you can do with Hecarim, so they're willing to leave the Zoe open, but that still seems incredibly dangerous. And oh, we do have one of the champions that were buffed on 12.5. It is Kennen with the electrical surge, now dealing more damage or with the better ratios the later the game goes, you know. And Driver could be, I read Driver as more of a just like AP team fight kind of guy, but with those extra ratios, it's definitely possible that you could see something like a Blade of the Ruin King Kennen be there as well.
Okay, so this Akali could go either lane,
Mm.
but ICU is the only one who's played it on this team so far, and oh, this is going to be so interesting as they do have to blind against Uniboy. Not something a lot of teams do, and I like this, a possibility of flex here from Hurricane. We've seen Silas go a few lanes.
I would say that if he does pick it, should be going into the top lane, but they can definitely swap around in this situation. Of course, I do like the Silas quite a bit here. Is this the
we're gonna get it! Get mid Kaisa! Let's go!
Oh, we're gonna get the Faker combo.
Oh, Uniboy gonna put on his best Faker impression. That W hits so hard with the AP AP items. It is ridiculous.
You do get more of like a it's better against like frontline champions a little bit. You don't really go for the executioner's calling with this build, and it does more percent HP damage. So I would say stronger poke potential. As you mentioned, the W long range, it's 3000 range. If it hits, you can follow up on quite easily, and it does do a little bit better against some of these tanks that you see here, like the Silas and perhaps like the Volibear there.
On the other hand, if you do steal a Kaisa ultimate, it's a little bit terrifying to have a Silas flying into your face. So that, it's always a risky proposition picking anything against a Silas, right? He'll just turn it right back at you. But I love this pick and ban phase. It was really creative. I think Hurricane, like the Zeri can be countered, I suppose, but it's still a strong pick, and I think it showcases J-Team's willingness to let something like that over, potentially to give themselves some practice against a weaker squad. But it opens the door here. I think Hurricane didn't have a bad draft at all.
This draft is so much focused on just shutting down the Zeri coming in from J-Team. There's plenty of burst damage coming in. You think about Onslaught of Shadows and Slicing Maelstrom and, Rocket Jump into Buster Shot. All of it is instantaneous. There's a lot of hard crowd control here. So I see it being very difficult to actually keep the Zeri alive. This complete composition is just built to shut down, giving over that Zeri first pick.
Will we see another Zeri lose here in the PCS? It's already happened once before, I believe, in the hands of Impunity. But Hurricane have to hope that they can ride this one to victory, as they need every game to be a win if they want to try and make it into the playoffs. It's a long ride, but it's still possible.
Yep, currently they're still sitting at 3 games behind Impunity, so they need to win all 3, and Impunity need to lose all 3. That's kind of the scenario that they're going for.
And they have a tiebreaker then.
True. Very slim chances, so that's certainly true. But if they go into tiebreaker, as long as you have the same number of wins, you can get a tiebreaker. It doesn't matter about the head-to-head whatsoever. So, we're not saying it's going to happen, but there is a chance. Now, the good thing about this game for me is that Hurricane Gaming at least are not going for any crazy level 1s. That has kind of been their go-to, and honestly their biggest downfall. So it's always kind of heartening to see that they're not trying to rush for this straight off the bat. In the meantime, taking a look at their lane allocations, Akali will be going into the top lane, Silas into the mid lane. I do expect this to be a rather slow early game coming in for Hurricane Gaming. They're really looking for that first team fight where you could see the Slicing Maelstrom be the main one stolen away, or the Unbreakable from Alistar, which has always been a Silas favorite, and then they try to go into team fights that way. J-Team, this composition is actually fairly brittle, so it's possible for Hurricane Gaming to just pick people off in these team fights if they get any vision advantages.
Yeah, Kongye has been kind of a main tank for a little while now. Starting to see as his role has shifted quite a lot from the Hong Kong Attitude days. Although we're going to get a level 1 here. Bang 2 immediately gets turned back off from the explosive shot, and Lilvi and Enzo win the trade.
That's just unfortunate for Enhao. His Zenith Blade was a little bit too short. You can attach the Zenith Blade across the enemy support. It does land onto the last target, but Little V was able to walk out, and Bang 2 still walked up to the trade, so unfortunately they do lose out quite heavily right there. That's 2 potions used by Bang 2, just 100 gold down the drain for that trade.
He's trying to make up for it with the minion farm, but unfortunately Wave's going to crash. Lil V shouldn't have too much trouble picking that up. Another thing about Tristana is, she has a hard time freezing waves, but it also means she has a hard time missing CS. And wow, they're going in for round 2 immediately. Bang 2 gets ignited. He's going to stay alive with half his health, but you can already see the superior 2v2 really getting the bully on.
Yeah, the amount of pressure here is quite amazing. So they get the heal out of him. And something to note is Lil V is running Hail of Blades, so he can stack up those explosive charges extremely quickly, get the reset for a second jump, and Zeri, with all her mobility, likely isn't going to escape from that one. So we have to pay very close attention to whenever that Hail of Blades is up, and whenever the cooldowns are there for the Alistar. There's a very strong possibility for a kill here, especially with all of the pots burned now from Bang 2. Looking at the other lanes, this is kind of expected. You do have both matchups being range versus melee for Hurricane Gaming, so things are progressing rather slowly. I do think J-Team can just actually vie for a double scuttle or try to put a little bit more pressure on ICU early game with these lanes, and it does look like Hurricane Gaming have this sort of a game plan where they're running a lot of assassins in both the Sylas and the Akali, and it's kind of a, well, laning phase is kind of going to suck for you, but we'll look and find opportunities in the first Herald.
Yeah, if they can stay safe enough to where they can actually group up, that's an advantage for them. At the same time, Kongye doesn't find an opening to try and get the gank, and a little difficult to do on Hecarim early anyways, but ICU is falling a bit behind in the farm game up against the likes of Driver. It's a ninja matchup up top there.
So I do want to talk about one of the big timings that we've seen, Sylas versus Alistar, that we saw at Worlds with Damwon Gaming, is that they would actually try to, initiate when the Alistar was level 5 on the first Herald fight. That really made a massive difference right there. And it allows Sylas to come in and just smash the first team fight, because essentially you have a front line while the enemy doesn't. So that's a potential timing window we could see if the enemy tries to do it. And the way that we have seen Damwon can avoid that pitfall is they actually roam their support level 5 very early, leech off the mid wave, and just prevent that timing from going over. Now we have a go-in, but it's a 3v3.
3v3. Yeah, Bang 2 flashes, so does Luffy as well as Oleo comes through, and Kongye answers on this one. Oleo a little bit low, but First Blood secured by Enhao. I don't think they were prepared for the level 4 Volibear.
Yeah, that was a kind of a weird one because it was pretty telegraphed. Both sides had their junglers waiting in this location, and J-Team were running into the minion wave. They were also diving in headfirst with the exhaust. Very well done by Enhao, but Aliel might be pushing his luck a little bit too much. He might
just a little bit. Oh no, he feeds the kill right back after the jump from Lil V. Keeps him alive. That was a bit of a misfire. It turns 1 for 1 with the AD carry kill on J-Team.
Yeah, and the laser doesn't find the kill and the back end either, so J-Team ends up, I would say, in the lead here. They do have the 3v3 here, so they can control the wave. They can get a better back after this wave and continue to pressure. So, the leads that Hurricane Gaming gained right before that are now, they've just completely given their lead back. So, rather unfortunate mistake right here. Meanwhile, in the top lane, we do have the first TP coming back from Driver. Again, what we're seeing is a J-Team should have full control of this next reset, and that really determines when they can walk towards Herald.
Okay, here's Enzo actually roaming up for just a brief second, but wave's already pushed, not going to be able to get much done there. One thing I did want to point out, too, you talked about teleports. There is going to be a general teleport advantage on the Hurricane side because Cha-Cha does have that compared to Uniboy's full combat summoners. But Uniboy's job, of course, is to just go into the backline and delete after he gets the stacks up there. Although we'll have to see how it shakes out. I mean, I suppose it's always possible he shifts his build-up, but the AP would make a lot of sense there.
Yeah, definitely would be. So we are seeing Driver just go for more, I think, the more traditional build in this sense, the AP like you mentioned. And we do have Uniboy going for the Mura mana, which still gives a lot of burst potential. We have seen players just go for this first and kind of flex based on the situation. Like the runes right now are all adaptive runes, so you still get full value whichever way you go with this composition. And I think for J-Team, their idea of playing this sort of team fight, they don't have a lot of sustain. I feel like they might just be going for full burst combos anyway.
I think so.
Now Kongya level 6 into the bot lane, as we said, wave control, no flash bot.
And they get the jump in. That's a teleport a little bit early, and Bang 2 gets blown to pieces, but Enzo falls as well. They couldn't quite juggle the aggro and flash and stun. Lil V could be in trouble as he's cut off at the pass, and ICU picks up a kill here as they manage to turn a dive into a 2 for 1.
Yeah, it was actually beautiful timing coming in from ICU. He does get a short window where he cannot, he does have the teleport advantage, and
Stormbringer.
Olio.
Driver didn't expect that engage, and even through the slicing maelstrom, Olio's just walking up and tanking it. Does he have anything left, though, to try and grab it? The flash out of the Sky Splitter. Where has this man been?
That was such a good combo coming in from Olio. We should watch that once again. But first, taking a look at the bottom side. As we said, this was likely going to happen, the dive coming in from the first instant. But they don't actually kill Bangtu on the first go, which prompts Lilvi to actually walk back into tower range to finish off the kill, and his support is tanking tower in the meantime. So unfortunately, they actually end up losing 2 for 1. Meanwhile, in the top lane, because Alio was able to force out Driver with no TP, they also get a free Herald in the top side. Really well done by Alio there. I wanted to comment that he did the combo absolutely correctly. When you use your ultimate, you are unstoppable. So he actually put down his Sky Splitter and then jumped in with the Stormbringer. So really nicely getting all the burst damage in. He's also running with the press the attack, so just completely caught Driver off guard with the amount of burst damage he was able to do, and that combo can't be stopped by any stun. So just well done on his part to get that Herald.
Hey man, if Pokemon taught me anything, it's that if you are a electric type, you are not going to be affected by electric damage very much. And Volibear, definitely a bit of a Thunder Bear.
Doesn't it work both ways, though?
I mean, it does, but, like, you can't really... If he's just going to come in and Goomba Stomp you, that's a whole other story, right? Now, let's talk about Kongye, because he's coming in on the onslaught. Does have a 2-man. Uniboy dashes in to get the completion, even though Kongye picks up the kill at the end. A nice 1-2 punch.
That was a little bit too obvious from the side of Hurricane Gaming. Cha-Cha also had no mana in that play, so I felt like that was actually Hurricane Gaming more trying to reset the wave than anything, and it just felt very opportunistic to see if they, if nobody showed up, maybe they could drop the Herald, but J-Team just respond very easily. They have the bot wave control, support roams up to back it up as well, so even if there was any fight back, they weren't going to be able to take any kills back, and that's just J-Team just with knowing their damage limits quite well, and what I really expect out of Hecarim plays, excuse me, as we do see Cha-Cha get a flash too.
He got his own Hecarim playoff for sure, and ICU out and in, gets stunned up, doesn't quite have, there he goes, a few extra shurikens is all he needed it, and ICU starting to come back into this one. That 1 kill down bot got him a golden fusion he needed. And this is a potential win condition if Hurricane can get their assassin fed.
Yeah, that was a pretty impressive kill. This is a Kali with no boots going up against Boots 2, Kennen, and he landed every single skill shot to make that happen. We'll watch this again. Remember, Driver did burn his flash earlier on in the play, and also look at the stacks right here. ICU just is able to get so much damage off. He dodges out on the additional Q, just using the Twilight Shroud as well, so just all around super well played, and being able to get damage down before the stun really comes in was massive against Driver.
And this is a big tempo swing, using that Herald they picked up earlier to try and get more here, but Cha-Cha doesn't really find an in for the dive, as Kongye was there, so they won't be able to get much more than a couple of plates. All the same, it's Hurricane Gaming that are instigating the plays right here. They may get collapsed on a little bit, and they may be behind in the gold game, but they're keeping pace with a team that honestly should be trying to snowball them. And now let's see if they can get the fight back. And how a little bit low, in goes Lilvi into the stasis. Kongye maybe pushes his luck, and here comes the Volibear onto Enso. Bangtu's on the board, and now J-Team are running for the hills.
Yeah, that was a very questionable play coming from J-Team. They actually hard committed right after the jungle walked away from their lane. So they saw Olio, and they were like, you know what, maybe he's not there anymore, and they full commit onto the support. So I just feel like J-Team are playing rather loosely with this one.
I am inclined to agree, Clement. I think this team is in a very, very good position in the standings, but they are playing quite cavalier today.
That's definitely true, and to be frank, they do have a cavalier in the Hecarim, but Yeah, that was
No,
just
no,
very...
Frank's my other co-caster.
I'm sorry. Too many puns in one sentence. That's just what we
No,
do
that's
sometimes
on
in
me.
PCS. Yeah, it was kind of a head scratcher. They knew that Alio was right around the corner. They just expected themselves to have a very fast kill and be able to retreat with the rocket jump. But very well done by Enhao. He actually denies the reset there by keeping himself alive. Alio flies in. Very simple kill, and there's also Cha-Cha behind that play. So they actually put themselves in a position now that the bot lane is very exposed. There was no heal to begin with, and now there's no summoners on Little V. They also can't control the wave. So that's pretty much an open invitation for Alio to just repeat gank this. And there is a chance for Hurricane Gaming to actually flip the bot lane matchup and become the first ones to take down first brick.
Which is massive right now.
Yeah.
It's all at the back of just a couple of swings they've taken advantage of. And critically, this is a team that, they've not, even going back to the alpha days when they had very similar problems with players in different locations, they didn't really have a penchant for effective communication. As Olio does get caught here, he could be in trouble. I don't think he's getting out of this one as he tries to walk it out. Well, maybe a bit of a caster curse there, as clearly he was not on the same page as the rest of his squad. But overall, Hurricane have showcased a lot better team decision-making in the first 14 minutes of this game that I think we've seen of them most split.
Yeah, I would agree right here, but they still have to survive this mid lane gank.
Oh, boy!
This is why... this is why the Kaisa mid is so damn scary. We are seeing the Mirror Mana build come out first, and when you are single target against a Cathian Rain, that ability just does crazy amounts of damage. There's no support to actually soak it up. And this is why, like, Kaisa mid lane was kind of a thing for a while earlier on, and now that Faker's brought it back, I do expect to see a little bit more of it.
Yeah, Faker, trend maker for sure. Uniboy definitely looking pretty good on it. Obviously, the plan has been to try and snowball. Honge has visited that lane multiple times, and he can get there quite quickly on the pony. I do like how this combo's worked out well. I think he's been less effective in some of the other lanes, but for the most part, if they can get the mid Kaisa ahead, I mean, Uniboy definitely their big carry. They don't necessarily have to have anybody else coming out of this super far ahead of the curve. Although, Driver falling behind is not something I expected to see today. He's definitely been having quite the split, but ICU is giving him hell.
Yeah, definitely, down 2-0, and his wave is constantly getting pushed in. He is in threat of just getting ganked again, and this is a very strong CC combo. If Driver face checks, he could just be dead. Oh, he actually baits it out.
Wow.
Spider senses.
There we go. But it does mean, with this presence here, a fair bit of control for the Herald. It's going to be flipped for the Dragon down bottom. That will be J-Team second. We hadn't even talked about how Cloud came up first. And with the Ocean starting to build a Drake stack here. And also, first brick secured by J-Team in one fell swoop. And we have got a Hex Tech Rift today. It's going to be Portal City.
Yeah, this is definitely a fun one here, especially when you have a Kennen that can kind of flank. I definitely feels like it could be beneficial. Ooh.
Okay. Let's see if ICU. He actually dashes right back to the tower, but 3-on-1 just ain't fair. And he's trying to buy time and maybe delete Lil V, but nothing doing. It's going to be a push down mid with the Herald, but in exchange for an inner, or at least a lot of damage on it. It can't quite finish it, though, because Driver's here to defend.
Yeah, and he does have Slicing Maelstrom, so worst comes to worst, he can't clear the
wave. There he
goes!
Oh, 1, 2, 3! They've managed to grab. Not 2 kills just yet, but you have to think only a matter of time before Enhao drops. Bang 2 can't do much, and holy moly, what a turn from J-Team.
That's the combo that I wanted to see. Old school Geisa combo. Bang 2 getting jumped on.
Oh, Lil V on the step forces the flash out from Bang 2. Heal already down, and J-Team just 1, 2, 3 all across the map. They're just so much faster right now.
Yeah, and this combo is just so hard to actually dodge out. I think this is exactly why they gave the Zeri blue side first pick over Hurricane Gaming. They had a plan to go into it. If you charge at someone with Onslaught of Shadows and you terrify them, that actually counts as an immobilization, and Uniboy can fly in with the Killer Instincts. It works the same way for the Kennen as well, as he can just put Slicing Maelstrom. It only takes 1.5 seconds for the stun to come down, guaranteed. So this is a very strong side lane combo, a very strong catch combo that you can pull out in the mid lane if you ever have these sort of sort of overloaded side trades. And it also really works in a semi-global fashion. You have to remember the Killer Instincts range is about 3,000, which is almost as long as early level Twisted Fate Destiny Gate. So we'll watch this one again as Kennen goes in, flashes for the 3-man. You have the smash come in on the other side, and just watch where Kai'Sa was flying in from. At that point, Uniboy was still around Raptors, and it's very hard to predict when that rotation is going to come in.
Yeah. At this point, you're starting to see Uniboy run away with it. At the moment, he does have the Medjai's already on. Why not? And there's a dive down bottom. Driver going to get hopped on by the Volley Bear, and ICU coming in for a 1-2 combo, even through the Maelstrom. They're going to be able to take it and secure that outer tower. So a good swing there for Hurricane, but what can J-Team get done in the mid? Not a whole lot, as the rest of the squad's here.
Just a 3-man stack here, making sure that J-Team can't push any further. In the meantime, Uniboy will get a couple more stacks. We did see him sort of think about going for the Crown of the Shadow Queen before, but he's like, nah, I got this. Again, I really like Alial's engages so far. He uses his ultimate again to close the gap. When you are in the ultimate, you cannot be stunned. And that's why he's running that. It means even if Driver does use a Slicing Maelstrom, he's not going to be able to get away. And then when you combo it into the Q auto attack is also unstoppable. So it's a guaranteed chain right there. And then Hurricane Gaming comes in with the rest of the members to follow it up. To be honest, I feel like Alial on Volley Bears definitely feels like a champion that he's a lot more familiar with than some of the other picks we've seen.
And this is from a jungler from who started last season as a mid laner. We have been waiting for him to showcase a champion that he seems particularly comfortable on. This Volley Bear definitely has looked a lot better. J-Team obviously still in the lead with this game. Let's not get away from ourselves too much, but we are seeing some glimmers of a chance of this Hurricane Gaming team. If they can pull off an epic upset here, they stay alive for the playoffs. It is all on the line. I mean, they need a lot of help to do it, but it is literally win or go home.
For sure, and I think this team fight is where Hurricane Gaming could definitely turn the tables around. If you look at their items, this is when they have all of their stopwatches. Zhonya's is done on the top lane coming in from ICU, so that burst potential from J-Team is actually greatly reduced. Sure, they might be up 5,000 gold right now, but it's definitely possible for J-Team to combo in, but then blow all of their ultimates on just stasises, and then for Hurricane Gaming to mop up the field. So if they stay together here, I feel like Hurricane Gaming should not let this Drake go. This is definitely their best chance to get back into the game, though they are giving up a lot of free damage.
Yeah, they are. This is a little rough right now. Olio, if he's taken out of this dragon fight, it is absolutely over. He goes into stasis for this one, and now intercepts Uniboy's W, and Shacha's trying to lead them on here, but Konge's around. This could be dangerous. This is a 4v5. Well, no, 4v4 rather, because ICU is off down bottom trying to push Driver away. They just get zoned out. Shacha runs straight into an entire death brush there as he's forced to ult away with a stolen onslaught, flashing back to the safety of the turret. J-Team just muscle Hurricane out of this mid lane, and here comes Konge, isolating Olio and Bang 2 into the goes the leap for Lil V, and that's going to be Reset City. A double kill quickly picked up, and they can hit and run.
Yeah, very surprising result of that fight. Lil V basically just walked at Hurricane Gaming and just one-shot Olio, forced him to run away. Hurricane Gaming weren't in position to try and engage that one, and I just felt like they hesitated on what the call actually was and gave J-Team way too much ground. Lil V with his cleanse up and with his flash up, he was willing to just stand right there and take damage, and I feel like Hurricane Gaming were kind of debating whether they wanted to go in there or not, and in the meantime, J-Team kind of just walked them down. So a golden opportunity for Hurricane Gaming just completely lost in rather weird fashion here, as Aliyah with less than 200 HP walks up. I feel like that tower was just better left for dead.
I mean, if nothing else, just look at the AD diff right now. You're talking Kraken Slayer, Malamel Mortius, and a Phantom Dancer against Triforce TMI. I'm sorry, Bing 2, you're not winning that.
Yeah, he definitely isn't, and this is getting a lot more dire for Hurricane Gaming as the gold lead moves past the 5,000 gold post. I feel like whenever it goes over 5k, your only real win condition left is going to be more focused on towards just catches, which is what Hurricane Gaming is doing.
Okay, Enzo's going to be the one face checking, although a little bit of split focus here from Cha-Cha. Let's see if they can actually get out of this one alive, and in goes the Volibear looking for Lil V. He leaps to safety, teleport completes, Driver immediately bails out. Cha-Cha is not done with them just yet, and they turn their attention for Driver now, but Kongye and Uniboy combo up to get one more. Enzo leaps up, dies. Here goes the second hop from Lil V. Knockback on the ultimate ICU staying alive.
Oh.
Taking down Enzo is pretty big, though, and now that's a triple kill, though, on the other side. Fang 2 staying alive in this one, but Lil V polishes him off. The quadra kill from Uniboy, and the Penta stolen away by scumbag Lil V.
Oh, Little V, he always does this on J-Team. He even emotes to show that he knows what he's doing. Oh, I have to say, Little V has got to be one of the worst teammates in PCS. He is such a morale killer with that. He's just known for stealing pentaQs, and you know he's said in previous interviews that he does it on purpose just so like his teammates don't get too inflated with their egos. Now,
wow, actually toxic.
Yeah, I mean he does have a point, but just give over the pentakills to your teammates. We're gonna watch this again. Hurricane Gaming. They do have to make a pick. I commend them for their effort, but unfortunately, they do start out on the Alistar. So the first kill does come in rather late, and let's just watch Uniboy here as he gets these disgusting Muramana picks again and again. You do get the full Muramana on single target abilities, which is what her W is with the Kaisa, and that's 2 kills with just the W alone doing over 500 damage to these champions.
Lil V, why you gotta do him like that, man? That was unfortunate. But speaking of unfortunate, Hurricane, they're seeing their playoff chances here go up in smoke. Driver may go down. Nope, not even quite. And Uniboy very determined to make up for losing out on that Penta by quickly picking up too. And at this point in the game, you kind of don't have to do anything but hit your W key if you're Kaisa. It stings. I mean, we're talking full stack Medjais and Ludens as well.
Yeah, I really want to see his damage numbers at this point. So he can pretty much... Oh my god.
It's disgusting.
That was likely the tankiest member on the team as well. And taking 400, half HP Bane 2 just with one shot. To be fair, he is 4 levels up on Bane 2. That's still disgusting.
I mean, yeah, Uniboy's having a blast this game. You can see why Zoe left open. That's fine. Doesn't work with what we want to do this time around. We'll take the AP mid Kaisa, and we are seeing J-Team. They may have had a few scuffed moments earlier in this game, but they turned on the heat, and unfortunately, Hurricane, they had to get the heck out of there, but maybe it's turnabout, the desperation fight here. No! Wolvie's unstoppable as he takes down Cha-Cha. The onslaught of shadows is the onslaught of Hurricane's doom. J-Team gonna finish this one right here, right now. ICU walks back to Fountain, but not fast enough as Uniboy picks up another. Lil V polishes off the last, and J-Team officially snuff out the Hurricane.
Oh, and it's kind of sad to see Hurricane go out in this fashion. They did have good players, good rookies throughout this PCS split. Their first time on the stage as the Hurricane Gaming, coming over from Alpha. So it was new beginnings for them, but still very similar results as in 2021. For this game particularly, I actually felt like they were holding on quite close. Most of the lead, just that 4,000 gold lead, just came from the bottom lane, getting dunked on a few times, and the CS difference in the mid lane. So those were the only 2 sources of their losses. They were actually doing fine in ICU's lane. He got the solo kill. He was 2-0 ahead. You have to remember Hurricane Gaming actually got both Heralds in the early game, which usually means that you are in a very strong position. But I think that first fight for the 3rd Drake really doomed them. That fight was a full 4 kills and I believe 2 towers down the drain for them. There was a lot of over-aggression that didn't need to be there. We saw Cha-Cha just faceplant into a brush, and right after that, Alio walks out of his own tower when he's only on 200 HP. And with that play alone, they went from just being behind by 4,000 gold, which was manageable, to a 3,000 gold swing down the drain. And I think, if they held on a little bit better on that 3rd Drake, this game was still potentially up for the taking. Going into the draft, though, This was such a fun game to see from J-Team. It's really rare to see them kind of move out of their comfort zone and go for something creative, but this was a good draft. They leave the Zeri open, but they pile their draft full of burst damage, full of catch potential. How is Zeri going to get away no matter how nimble she is? She's not running away from Slicing Maelstrom or Onslaught of Shadow, and you can just follow up with Killer Instinct. I love the concept, love the idea here, and I think it really is great that J-Team are showing this on the last week just to put doubt in people in playoffs for first picking Zeri.
Well, we were starting to wonder, like in the Sem 9 game, it's like, I mean, this is a style game, but at the same time, maybe these are some picks they practiced. We saw some really good Vex play as well, a very similar style here, going for the mid lane AP Kai'Sa. I think J-Team are flexing a little bit on the champion picks right now and showing they have a little bit of range, because for a while it was a little more stock standard. We were seeing, you know, it's Zoe if he gets it. It's Lee Sin in the hands of Kongye, but there is some variation there. I like that Driver tried out the Kennen as well. I think Kongye has gotten a lot more comfortable on these more tanky engaged champions too, as Hecarim has risen in priority. And finding a good counter to the Zeri is important. It gives you an opportunity to potentially outplay teams that are going to get a little bit caught up in that high win rate even after the nerfs. So J-Team experimenting a little bit. It's great to see. Was the execution always perfect? No. But the instinct was always killer, and that's what counts.
It definitely was. They caught Cha-Cha out so many times just around that brush, and you can see just from the damage numbers, Uniboy actually eclipses Cha-Cha by a factor of close to 7 right here. And it really is just a lot of those solo burst potentials that we've seen. Cha-Cha walks out of lane, drops a ward, and Uniboy just makes him pay with his life for it. That happened multiple times. And we saw the power of just the Acathian Rain and the Mura mana with the W on single targets. It was absolutely disgusting. Basically, Kai'Sa is the new Zoe for Uniboy, and if you see that 49 KDA Zoe, you have to think it would be very similar for the Kai'Sa as well.
Yeah, I think Uniboy's definitely proven he's got a bit of a deeper champ pool than maybe we thought at the beginning of the split. And I remember thinking back at the beginning, it's like, all right, this guy's got a mean Zoe, but it seems like everything else is a bit more utility. No. Full on, gonna assassinate you, gonna burst your face. So it's not just spheres you can play with, it's also a heck of a lot of missiles on that Kai'Sa. I am very excited to see this from the J-Team side, but with that, Hurricane locked out of playoffs. I think they still played a solid game. I think this team is finally starting to come together just a little bit too little, a little too late. They'll still play for pride the last 2 days, but we've got to go ahead and go on break. When we return, CFO, take on Meta Falcon team.